late. By the time this morning drip's gonna be up in the afternoon, because it wasn't that I was dawdling, I was playing with motion graphics, and you'll see the one thing that I played with at some point in this episode. It's literally the only added motion graphics. I was just playing around and wasting a whole bunch of time, but we are back, and we're gonna talk a little bit about today. I am gaining a little bit more confidence as we get closer and closer to this Michigan State game. Of course, we have to see it. Anything can go wrong, It's not. Yeah, that's for any game, right? Things can certainly go wrong. But we've talked a lot about Michigan State's deficiencies. If you watch the my Spartans Palooza podcast episode with Rico Beard, he'll tell you some of those deficiencies weren't deficiencies, and okay, whatever. It happened. It was what it was. But there's several things that have me feeling a little bit better about where Michigan stands going into this Michigan State game. Ultimately, I think one of the big things that I kind of didn't realize, the way I was looking at it, everyone had kind of said oh, Michigan State's offensive line, it's so much improved, it's so good. They are not confident. At least Rico, Matt Sheehan, the two people I spoke to on the Locked On Wolverines podcast, not at all confident about what they're going to be seeing with the offensive line versus the Michigan pass rush. Of course, Michigan State is going to try to neutralize that as much as possible by throwing quickly, probably just trying to get out the ball as fast as it can, work on screens and things of that nature. The question is, how much is Michigan prepared for it? I think that will totally work in Michigan's advantage that they have been preparing for this. Now, I am under good authority that Michigan has been preparing for this game in the bye week. So for all of this talk of Michigan State had the week off, they got to sit there and watch Michigan. They got to prepare. It's not like Michigan's bye week was 4 weeks ago. Michigan's bye week was 2 weeks ago. They got to prepare all the same. So I anticipate that it's going to be that Michigan's got some wrinkles, got some things. And I think that when you look at the offense, the Michigan offense, yes, it's going to come down to execution. But there are certain things that we saw when Michigan felt like it needed a little bit of extra spark, and that game was Wisconsin. They knew that they were going up against a tough defense for starters. And also offensively, they knew that they were going to have a battle, or at least they thought they were going to have a battle against the Wisconsin offensive line and its run game. So when you look at what Michigan did on the offensive side, they got a lot more creative. They didn't get away from running the ball. That's the important thing. Whatever, because I'm not actually counting. This is number 3. When it came to the defense, they showed not just exotic blitzes, but they actually did blitz Daxton Hill. I think that there are certain things that Michigan will do in that light. And when it comes to the Michigan State defensive line going up against the Michigan offensive line, I think that you've seen, whether it's Nebraska, Wisconsin's not a blitzing team. They're not one that necessarily generates a lot of pressure. They do get tackles for loss. Michigan still did a really good job. I think that when you get into this game, you have to have confidence, especially if Zach Zinner and Trevor Keegan are back, that Michigan's going to be able to hold off, at least to some degree, what Michigan State's trying to present in terms of rushing the passer, getting into the backfield, causing disruption on that front. I don't think that Michigan State has that luxury. I think that Michigan's pass rushes come along excellently, and the lack of sacks is not evidence of how good this pass rush is. Of course, Aiden Hutchinson's leading the league in sacks, but it hasn't really mattered, right? That's the thing, because they're pressuring so much, and it's not just Aiden, it's David Ajabo, it's Mozzie Smith, it's Josh Ross, there's any host of players that are doing an excellent job at getting into the backfield. All of these things, I think, are really big positives for Michigan. I think that if the games are won in the trenches, Michigan should have a solid advantage on either side to make that happen. But again, it's about execution, because if Cade McNamara drops back, he passes, and it's incomplete, which is the one thing I think he's doing a lot right. But completing passes it's something that you want to see passes downfield. That hasn't always hit. I'm still defending Cade McNamara, as I have been all the last week and a half or however long I've had to. But still, that is something that has to improve in this game. Obviously, the Achilles heel on the other side is, and it hasn't even been that bad this year. We have seen it against Washington late in the game, some other times where the passing game for the other team came alive. Of course, Michigan State's going to try to test the corners. So it's going to be a fact of the matter is going to all come down to that pass rush and what they're going to do. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is this narrative of Jim Harbaugh hasn't won big games. Jim Harbaugh doesn't win big road games. Listen, Michigan State also, I think I saw a tweet somewhere saying that they haven't won any of these when it's like they haven't beaten like a top 10 Michigan in or something like. I don't remember. I don't remember the veracity of it, so I can't really speak on it. But I think the one important thing is, and you can see this tweet right here from Clayton Sayfie, that kind of debunks this. Well, Michigan and the road team, they don't win big games on the road. Whenever Michigan's been a favorite, it's tended to do pretty good. And Michigan, last I checked, according to Tipico, is still a 4.5-point favorite. So this is the type of game that Michigan would tend to win. I think that either team, they could come out with a plan, come out hot, and it could completely change the dynamic of this game. I like Michigan's defense against Michigan State's offense. This is going to be a tough test. I'm not saying it's not. But we've seen other teams being able to shut down Michigan State. I think they'll come out swinging. I think that they'll have some plans, some things that obviously haven't been put on tape, but I think Michigan also will as well. I think Michigan's certainly prepared for that. Considering how important this game is, more so I think to the Michigan side of things, it's certainly more important to Jim Harbaugh. And it's not a knock of like how important the rivalry is. I'm not saying that. I think this is considering what happened last year, not just in this game, but the entire season, considering the pay cut, the necessity to get back on the right track of things. I think this is more important to the entire Michigan team. I think that both teams are playing something with house money, right? Because no one expected either of them to be undefeated by this time of the year. But I think that it means a lot more this particular year to Michigan because of everything that's happened recently. So we'll see what the plan ends up being. But I'm gaining a little bit more confidence. Maybe it's also because I'm buying into some of the hype. Check out my player predictions, the former player predictions. Some are predicting big games. I'm predicting the same score as last year, just reverse. Still road team 27 and is in Michigan State 24. I certainly could see either team winning the game and winning by more than that. But I do think that Michigan will win this game. But just because I say that, just because that's how I see it going, things certainly always go one way or another, right? Things in game can change in a hurry. So we'll see. Anyway, that'll do it for today's morning drip. Hope that was all coherent. I've been bogged down in motion graphics for far too long today. All right, so that'll do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow to really get even more into the nitty-gritty of this game, even though this kind of felt like a preview, but so be it.